My best friend Liam called me on a Thursday at like 11 p.m., which meant something was wrong. That's just how Liam operated. Good news. Could wait until morning. Crisis mode meant immediate phone call, but when I answered, he wasn't panicking. Was just quiet for a second. Then he asked if I could come over. I showed up at his apartment 20 minutes later. He looked fine physically. Clean clothes, wasn't bleeding, didn't look like he'd been crying. There was this weird energy about him, like he'd been waiting for someone to show up, and now that I was there, he wasn't sure how to explain why he'd called. "Everything okay?" I asked, dropping my keys on his kitchen counter. "Yeah. No, everything's fine. I just thought I kind of need help with something and it's weird to ask." He ran his hand through his hair, which is what Liam does when he's actually nervous about something. Not like socially nervous. It's like emotionally vulnerable and nervous. I was about to ask what he needed when he continued. "I messed up my shoulder during a run this morning. Nothing serious," the doctor said. "But it's this weird position where I can't shower properly, you know? Can't reach behind my back without it hurting like hell. And I've been trying to figure it out all day and I just ... He trailed off. "You need help showering?" I finished. Not a question. "Yeah, and I know how weird that is. I know you have your own stuff going on, but you're the person I trust most. And I just couldn't ask my family to drive out here and Liam. It's fine. Of course I'll help." That's literally not weird. But it was a little weird. Not in a bad way. Just in an awkward logistics way. It's like we'd been friends for 8 years. Close friends. The kind of friends who knew each other's entire life history, supported each other through relationships and breakups and family drama. But we'd never been in a situation quite like this. There's something about nudity with a friend that sits in this weird space between completely normal and slightly charged. Depending on the moment, he led me to his bathroom, and I was trying not to make it weird by overthinking it. So I was probably making it weird by being obviously careful not to make it weird. He grabbed a towel and set it on the counter, then looked at me like he wasn't sure what came next. "Okay, do you want me to?" I gestured vaguely, giving him an out if he wanted privacy to actually undress. He nodded and went into his bedroom. I stood in the bathroom feeling slightly ridiculous, preparing myself mentally for this. I'd helped a friend with something practical. This was practical, very practical, a very normal practical thing. He came back wearing just boxer shorts. I immediately focused on his shoulder where he was obviously favoring his left side. There was some swelling. It definitely looked painful. The doctor really said it. "Nothing serious?" I asked, turning on the shower to let it warm up. Said it's going to be sore for like a week, maybe 2, but no structural damage. Just ... Yeah, I need to be careful. I adjusted the water temperature, held my hand under it until it felt right. "Okay, come here." He stepped into the shower and I followed in fully clothed because neither of us had planned for me to actually get in the shower with him, which was fine. I was already in clothes. This was a practical help situation. What I wasn't prepared for was how much closer everything actually is when you're helping someone do something that normally requires them to just ... handle it themselves. When he stepped under the water, his back to me, I could see the exact line of his spine. The way his muscles shifted when he moved. The scar on his left shoulder blade that he got when he was 12 falling off a bike. Knew that scar existed. I didn't know it quite like this. "Can you do your front?" I asked, trying to sound practical. "I can do the front fine. It's just the back. Hair, back, whatever." He turned to face away from me, and the water ran over his head. Down his shoulders, I grabbed his shower gel, something that smelled like eucalyptus and something woodsy, and poured some into my hands. Started with his shoulders, being careful. Around the injured one, working the soap in. His skin was warm from the water and the shower steam. His muscles were tense. "Try to relax," I said. "Easy for you to say," he replied, but there was something in his voice that wasn't quite his normal tone. A different kind of tension than the physical kind. I worked my way down his back. And there was this moment I'm not sure how to describe without sounding crazy, but there was this moment where I felt something shift. It's like I was suddenly very aware. of every point of contact between my hands and his skin, very aware of the fact that he was just standing there. He was vulnerable in a way he normally wasn't, and I was the one touching him. I finished with his back and started working on his hair, and he made this small sound, like a sigh, or maybe just a breath, and I told myself I was imagining things. "Is this helping?" I asked, trying to refocus. "Yeah," he said, and his voice was quieter. "Yeah, this is good. Thank you." I rinsed his hair, careful not to get soap in his eyes, and we didn't talk for a minute. Shh. Just the sound of the shower, the steam rising up around us, my wet clothes getting heavier. "I think I got everything," I finally said. He turned around and looked at me. Actually looked at me, like right in the eyes, the way people do when they're about to say something important, but haven't quite worked up to it. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah, I just... I don't know. I'm being weird about this, aren't I? I'm making it weird." "No, you're not. You have a hurt shoulder. This is just practical." He nodded slowly, like he wasn't entirely convinced, but he let it go. I stepped out of the shower and grabbed his towel, and he turned off the water and stepped out. I held the towel out, and he turned around, and I wrapped it around him, my hands on his shoulders. For maybe 2 seconds, neither of us moved. The bathroom was steamy and quiet except for the dripping water. I could feel his wet skin under my hands, could feel how fast his heart seemed to be beating. Or maybe that was just me projecting. Then he turned and took the towel from me, and I stepped back. "I'm going to drip all over your apartment," I said, trying to inject some normalcy back into the situation. "Yeah, go change out of those wet clothes. I've got stuff you can wear. You know where it is?" He meant his drawer with his extra t-shirts and sweats that I'd been leaving at his place for literally years because I was over here all the time. I grabbed a towel for myself and went to his bedroom, peeling off my soaked clothes and leaving them in a pile by his bathroom door. I toweled off and threw on one of his oversized t-shirts and gray sweats that were soft from 1,000 washes. They smelled like detergent and like him, which was normal because they were his clothes. But I was hyper-aware of it in a way I hadn't been before. When I came back out, he was in the kitchen making tea. He was changed too, wearing a dark sweater, carefully positioned around his good shoulder, and the same gray sweats. We looked like a couple just hanging out on a random night, which was funny because we did this all the time, except nothing felt quite the same as it had before I'd stepped into that shower. "Thank you," he said again, setting down 2 mugs. "I mean it. I really appreciate it, Liam. Seriously, stop thanking me. This is what friends do, right?" "Yeah." He sat down on the couch and I sat next to him, leaving a reasonable distance, because I was starting to feel like I was losing my grip on what was normal distance and what wasn't. He turned on the TV. Some random show we could just let play in the background. And we sat there drinking tea and not talking about what had just happened, because we were both pretending nothing different had happened. Around midnight, I should have gone home. That would have been the normal play. Help friends with injury, leave, talk about it, never. But Liam asked if I could stay, said his shoulder was already hurting again, and he didn't want to be alone dealing with that on a weeknight. And I agreed, because I would have agreed to almost anything at that point. He set me up on his couch with an extra pillow and blanket, something we'd done dozens of times. Except this time I was wearing his clothes and my hands could still feel the exact texture of his skin, and I was lying in his living room trying to convince myself that what I was feeling was just adrenaline or weirdness or something explainable. Fell asleep to the sound of him moving around his apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, the ambient sound of a city nighttime outside his windows. I woke up around 3 in the morning to him limping into the living room. He was moving carefully, favoring his good side, and when he saw I was awake, he looked embarrassed. "Sorry, didn't mean to wake you. My shoulder's killing me. I can't find the pain medication the doctor gave me, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it's kind of worse than it was earlier. Did you check the bathroom?" I sat up, half awake. I checked everywhere. I think I may have thrown away the bag it came in without thinking about it. I could tell he was in actual discomfort now. Not just soreness, but the kind of pain that had him moving like an old man, careful and calculated. "Do you have ibuprofen?" "Oh, tried that already." I thought for a second, still waking up. Heat or ice? The heat made it worse, I don't know. Should have just asked the pharmacist better questions. He sat down on the edge of the couch on the opposite end from where I was, close enough that I could see him more clearly in the darkness, lit by the ambient light coming through his windows. "Come here," I said. "What?" "Just ... come here." He looked like he was going to argue, but instead, he laid down on the couch, his back to me, leaving space between us. I understood what he was asking without words. I shifted closer and put my hand on his shoulder, careful around the injured side, and just held it there. Warm pressure. Not quite a massage, but similar. After a few minutes, his breathing started to slow down. The tension in his body seemed to ease slightly. "Is this helping?" I asked, quietly. Yeah, it's really helping." He paused. "Thank you." I didn't respond. I just kept my hand there, and we stayed like that in the darkness of his apartment. My hand on his shoulder. His back barely touched my chest. The world outside continues on. None of it matters right now. Around 5 in the morning, he turned over to face me. We were close now, just separated by the inches of couch space between us. Close enough that I could feel the warmth coming off him. "This is weird," he said. "Yeah," I agreed. "I don't know how it got weird." "It's been weird since the shower," I said, and it felt important to be honest about that now. Maybe since you called me. Or maybe I'm just projecting and I'm being weird. He was quiet for a long moment. "What if you're not projecting? Then I don't know what that means. Does it have to mean something?" I thought about his question. "I don't know. Does it?" He reached out his good arm, and his hand found my face, and he was looking at me in that specific way he'd looked at me in the shower. Like he was asking a question and waiting for an answer. "What if I don't know what I'm doing?" I said. "Like, what if I've never done this, and I'm sort of figuring it out as I go, and I don't have a plan?" "That's okay," I said, "but what if it ruins our friendship?" "Then that's the risk. But Liam, it might not. It might be okay. It might be better than okay." He kissed me then. And it was both completely unexpected and somehow exactly what I'd been waiting for since he'd called me on Thursday. It was gentle because of his shoulder, careful and tentative, like he was still figuring out if this was actually happening. When he pulled back, he was looking at me with something that wasn't quite relief, but maybe something close to it. "Been wanting to do that for longer than I should probably admit," he said. "How long?" "Long enough that I should have figured it out before I asked you to help me shower in the most awkward way possible." I laughed. "You literally orchestrated your own shower assistance just to get me alone." "I didn't orchestrate anything. I actually did fall on my shoulder. But I did maybe wait an extra day to call you because I was trying to work up the courage." He paused. "That's insane, right?" "A little bit, yeah. But also kind of sweet in the worst possible way." He shifted closer and rested his forehead against mine. "I'm going to be thinking about how I asked my best friend to help me shower as my inadvertent first move for the rest of my life. Could be worse, could be better. We're here now, though." "Yeah," he said. "We're here. We didn't have sex or anything. We just laid there as the sky got lighter outside his apartment windows as the city woke up, as normal morning life happened outside." His good arm around my waist, my hand on his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady against my palm. Around 7. He needed to properly take care of his shoulder, and we had to get up. He texted his work that he was taking a personal day and didn't go into details. I did the same. We spent the morning carefully figuring out what this was, what it meant, what happened next. "I should have told you," he said while we were sitting on his kitchen counter, drinking coffee. "Like a long time ago, I just didn't know how." "Told me what exactly?" "That you liked me, that I didn't just like you, that I like you like this deeply. Like the kind of thing that makes you make poor decisions about asking friends to help you shower." "You didn't make a poor decision," I said. "You got exactly what you needed." He looked at me. "Did I?" "Yeah, I think you did. And also I needed it too. I just didn't know that until it was happening." That was the thing that we both kept coming back to over the next few weeks. That moment in the shower hadn't been awkward or weird in the way we both thought it would be. It had been important. It had been the thing we needed to finally be honest about something we'd both been dancing around. It's been 4 years now, His shoulder healed completely, by the way. He still jokes about the worst shower assistants of all time being how we got together. I still have that oversized gray t-shirt somewhere, though he claims it's his and I should give it back. I never will. But the thing I keep thinking about, the thing that stays with me even now, is that moment in the shower steam when everything shifted. When practical help became something else. When the person you've known your entire adult life suddenly became the person you were building a future with. Sometimes, people ask how we got together, and Liam launches into the story about me helping him shower, and people laugh and think it's cute, but what they don't understand is that it wasn't just about that moment. It was about him trusting me with his vulnerability. It was about me being willing to show up and not pretend that there wasn't something happening that we both felt the best. Love stories don't always start with a dramatic meeting. Sometimes they start with someone calling you late at night when they're scared or hurt or just need you to be there. Sometimes they start with practical things, with boring things, with moments that don't seem like they should lead anywhere. Special. But sometimes those are the moments that change everything. I hope this story works for what you need. It's written to feel like a genuine human recollection, conversational, with natural pacing, realistic dialogue, with hesitations and awkwardness, and emotional authenticity rather than cinematic drama. The structure is intentionally invisible, flowing naturally from beginning to end without chapter markers or artificial breaks. The story avoids the cliché openers you mentioned and instead focuses on the disorientation and unexpected emotions that come from a practical situation becoming something deeper. It's YouTube safe, but emotionally rich, focusing on the vulnerability and trust between the characters rather than explicit content.